40 minutes in front of these drivers and plenty of opportunities.
But yes, a bit of point of contention, but it doesn't matter now, Ron. We're going green.
Drivers are on their way, and it's a rather convincing start from Joyner. He's going to be leading them comfortably. Heading through this bend, it tightens up though before they head on into turn number 8. Let's see this is going to be very close.
What is that?
Based off the fact you sound like you sat on a cold toilet seat there, Adam, but that was insane. And Kramer was mega sideways coming out of turn number 8.
That one got me. That one got me.
Look at this conga line. Dun 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 dun. Who was it that came up for the? Oh, that was Tolo coming in. Well, hello and good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to Slow Motion Broadcasting, and welcome back to the Formula Ford Weekend Warriors. This is round number 2 of this season, coming to you today from Magny-Cours. My name is Ron Maunz. Alongside me in the commentary booth is Charles Boshell, and in the virtual production hall serving as our producer, we have Guido Marzucchi. We're staying in France all weekend long here for the Weekend Warriors, and for the FFs, it's a trip across the English Channel to bring us to Magny-Cours. There's really nothing like Magny-Cours out there in the world of motorsports, so Charles, I feel like the word unique is going to be on our minds a lot throughout today's broadcasts.
Yeah, I would agree with that, Ron. It is a unique track. It's I was trying to think about it when you said that, and it's like, yeah, I mean, it's kind of got a feel of maybe a Silverstone but it's not nearly as fast. I don't think there's some a little bit tighter corners, and it's a tighter track overall. So yeah, it's a fairly flat track. There's a little bit of elevation, but nothing to speak of. But it was watching specifically Jason Green. We were on board with him during the practice, and was just kind of keeping an eye out just to see what these cars are going to do. And these cars are going to be able to go almost flat out for the majority of this race. There's a couple of corners they're going to have to do a little lift and to get their line set. And obviously that one corner where it's a very, very hard braking zone will be a good place to try and make an overtake, as we're seeing the car coming out of there right now. I think it's Sean Doyle. So there's a couple of spots for some hard braking and passing opportunities, but for the most part, I think this is going to be one of those games of leapfrog that we see from time to time, where you're going to be doing quite a bit of drafting off the cars in front and trying to make your way around that way.
I'm going to bring up a comment that I made during the Formula V broadcast yesterday here on SMB. We're going to see 3 completely different races all throughout this weekend. The FV is a draft fest, a spec racer 4 is kind of a draft fest as well, but slightly bigger. And here with these Formula Fords, it's going to be these drivers testing their wits around this racetrack, balancing the act of heading through some very fast corners as Fabian Singer learning the hard way the challenges of turn number 1 and 2. Got a little bit sideways midway through the corner, and is going to get all sorts of tripped up. Currently P16 in this qualifying session with still a couple of minutes left to go on the clock. This track, as we said, really nothing in the world outside of maybe a couple of racetracks here and there that's like this track. It's got that mix of high-speed corners, medium-speed corners, slow-speed corners, heavy braking zones, and those long flat-out blasts. It has everything that you could really expect out of a racetrack. Hosted the French Grand Prix back in the day, and just an absolutely an absolute unique character in the world of motorsport. Some drivers love it, some drivers absolutely hate it. It's kind of like Marmite in an odd way. But let's do a quick little onboard lap with Michael McConnell in the number 62 machine, heading his way down the start-finish straightaway off into turn at number 1 and 2. You can see taking huge liberties with those outside track limits to try and set yourself up super well into this section. Got a good exit coming out of turn number 2, so you set yourself up well through turn number 3. That is Estoril, one of the most important corners on this racetrack, and one that could really mess up your race if you have a bad exit out of it, because it leads onto this massively long flat out blast. This straightaway doesn't have a name, but that corner does. That right there is turn number 4 of Golf. These drivers still having to turn a little bit all throughout this, heading our way into the heaviest braking zone around this track, by far being the Adelaide hairpin of turn number 5. It's a good overtaking opportunity that these drivers are going to look to try and use. However, you need to get done with authority, otherwise they're going to be side by side in this small little flat out blast through 6 a couple of moments ago. Now into the Nürburgring section of 7 and 8. This fast chicane, not the only one like it on this racetrack. We'll see a little bit of a repeat of it with 12 and 13 coming up in a couple of moments time, but first you have to deal with 180 of turn at number 9. That hairpin called out some drivers in the FVs yesterday. I have a feeling on lap 1 with these Formula Fords it's going to be no different through 10 and 11 right there. And this small little flat out blast now into the MLS section. This, as I said a couple of moments ago, bit of a repeat of turn 7 and 8. You got that killer inside baguette curb, which is not going to help these drivers cause out at all. Another hard curb whack on the inside. Turn number 14 follows a hairpin towards the tail end of this circuit. Now down a straightaway, which has a bend in it. The bend in this straightaway doesn't have a corner number. However, they do call it chicane, which that's not a chicane, although you may be a bit of a chicken if you lift heading through there. This is a chicane. Turn 16 and 17. Saw some drivers go a little bit crazy through there. It was a flipping crazy corner, just as Jason Green and his perspective in the Formula V race. But that completes a lap of Magny-Cours, a rather hectic ride.
Yeah, it is pretty hectic. I would agree with that. And there's a couple of really tight corners. As you said, it's a good balance. This 2-3 Estoril is, you can just see it's just inviting you to just put the hammer down and see how much speed you can carry around through that section. Very wide open, 180-degree set of corners there. So just invites you to just really hammer it and see if you can carry the speed. These cars are going to do a pretty good job. As you saw with the incident we saw at the very beginning of that, we're trying to carry too much speed out of the chicane, or too much speed through there. And once the tires break grip, and they start sliding, then those tire surfaces heat up, makes the next corner that much more difficult, because you're not going to be able to carry nearly as much speed through there without the car just basically breaking loose and taking you off the track. So that'll be something they'll have to watch out for today, as we're on board here with Felix Samoas, currently in 5th, tied in 5th actually, tied for 4th with Michael McConnell at 0.419 off pole. So within a 100th of a second of the gap there. As we see Dustin Meaden off in the grass. Looks like that's maybe just a little loose, probably too much curb. Oh, kind of like that right there with Kevin Adrian. That was way too much curb. See the car get airborne. That's not the fast way through that corner, I'll guarantee it.
Yeah, that grass on the outside of turn 16, 17, feel bad for the landscaping crews here at Magny-Cours because having to maintain that grass, it's like managing a bowling alley in space. I think is the only way that I can describe it, but still an old school ride in the world of motorsports and a fun ride nevertheless. And only have one race on the board thus far this season. I mean, it's round 2. You can do the math. So not a whole lot to talk about in reference to the points. However, we still will briefly go over them if we can load those up. Just burn through this as quickly as we can. You'll see the race winners from the previous race at Cadwell Park be at the front of the field, be the creme de la creme, so to speak. Hey, we're in France. I may as well use the other terminology while we are here and absolutely get butchered by people who hear my French pronunciations and want to bash me over the head with a mallet as a result. We'll say that Felix Samoas was your race winner in the Spec 1 category for the last round of the championship at Cadwell Park. He's a reigning Spec Racer 4 champion. He's looking to try and do very good in all of these series. So he's pretty quick. And we'll take a look to see how Felix Samoas stands heading into this first race of the season. Because as much as he did have that win, he wasn't too confident that he's going to be in some of the other races throughout the rest of this season. So we may have to talk about a revolving door of drivers for Spec 1. So we're going to get those championship points loaded up here in a couple of moments' time and show you how things shake out in all of our 3 classes. There's Spec 1, where it's Samoa's at the front, Michael McConnell in second, Daniel Tufts, Jason Green, and Sean Doyle running at your top 5. Again, only one race on the board, so that just basically reflects how those drivers finished in Class 1 week ago at Cadwell Park. Going to move on now to Spec 2, where it was Dan Witzak who ended up finishing 5th overall in that race, grabbing the Spec 2 win. So we'll get those second class points loaded up here in a couple of moments time and see that Witzak at the front, 81 points, Salmon and P2 at 69, and Fernando Alfonso riding at your top 3 in the Spec 2 category. Adam Thompson's there at the bottom, and here's Masters, where you can see Jurg Mani at the front. He finished 2nd overall in the race at Cadwell Park 1 week ago, continuing on that form that he showed for last season here in this championship. And we would neglect to mention the fact that you saw him at the bottom end of the Spec 2 points, and we're not going to use this as an opportunity to dogpile onto him because he came into the race, crashed on lap 1, and then went into the booth and meowed and then promptly disappeared. Adam and his wife Sarah, I believe, unless I'm very much mistaken, they are they're currently in the delivery room. I don't believe she has gone into labor yet, but would like to preemptively congratulate the Thompsons, wish them well.
Absolutely.
Hopefully everything will go well with the delivery of their brand new baby. But we got about 20 seconds left in this qualifying session. See, I can do math from time to time. And it's Rasmus Vori at the front of the field in the 199 machine with a pretty okay gap to himself and Felix Samoas for that front row.
Yeah, it's a 2/10 a good gap. It's obviously the start of this race is going to be pretty critical for those guys up front to try and to get a gap. You want to try and get that 1 second gap over your competitor behind. Try and break that slipstream up a little bit. It's going to make it that much harder for them to track you down. But I'm just kind of looking at that final chicane there. The start finish line is very close to that end of the straightaway, just beyond that chicane. I think that's going to potentially make for a very, very classic ending, as we like to call it, a very close race. If we've got 2 or 3 cars up there, there might be some risks taken in order to front as we get to that chicane at the end.
Yeah, that final chicane, 16 and 17. I kind of raised this in the Formula V broadcast I did with our SMB colleague, Mr. Joshua Wilkie, who's currently nursing a bad back. So we wish him well, probably from having to carry up the slack from me speaking in tongues during those Formula V broadcasts. But I was kind of raising this point with him. That final chicane, turn 16 and 17, such an unbelievably clunky section in just about any form of race car. You're coming out of turn 15, it's like, okay, here we go. I'm good to go. Then you head through that section, and it's an odd way to describe it, but it feels like shooting a spitball out of a plastic straw is usually how I feel whenever I'm driving around here. An odd comparison to be sure, but at least in my low P brain, it does make a bit of sense.
Yeah, I can kind of see that. It's a very constricted corner grouping there. right at the end of the beginning of the start finish straight into that back straight. So yeah, like I said, I think there's the potential there to be a very, very close finish, because some people are going to take a risk and they may do what we saw Arnold do earlier and kind of jump that inside curb and try and make a pass. And otherwise, it might just be too wide through there, and it may be a very classic finish. But we got to get to that part of the race first, so let's get it started to start with here.
Yeah, let's get this day of racing action underway and kick off Super Sundays here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. It's going to be a fun day. We got those Spec Racer Fords coming up later on, which I think is going to be insane. I can't even imagine how the run into turn number 5 is going to be on that first lap. Well, I can imagine how it's going to be, and all I will say in just is that I'm very happy that I will not be stuck with a repair bill for some of these race cars at the end of all of it. And speaking of a repair bill, I was kind of joking about this before we went on the air. The last broadcast I did, which was yesterday evening, that wrapped up at about midnight my time. It was a full-length NASCAR Cup race, 400 laps at Martinsville. That nearly drove me insane because we had 30 yellows in the entirety of the 400 laps, which is made even worse when you realize that we had 21 by the halfway mark of lap 200. Ugh. So, that was... Oh boy, I'm not even sure what words could be used to describe that shiitake mushroom show.
There's two words, and the last one is show. So I'll let people fill in the blank on the first. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's the best way to describe it. But I think before we go off talking any more about various types of mushrooms, let's take a look at the starting grid for this race here at Magny-Cours. It's going to be Jason Green starting from the pole. He was able to snag that from Rasmus Rory right towards the end of that race. Those two going to be occupying our front row. We have Felix Samoas starting this race in third, next to Jorg Mani in fourth. Michael McConnell, the sponsor of today's broadcast here on Slow Motion Broadcasting for the second week in a row, will start in P5, next to Sean Doyle, the Aussie, starting in sixth. In P7, we have got... My God, that man has pure dedication. Starting in P7 in this race, as my track map is currently covering it, it's going to be Ethan Orr in the 33 machine. I am rattled. I just had a 30-something-year-old man meow at me for, I think, the 15th time thus far this year. Kevin Adrian will start in P8, Daniel Tufts in 9th, with Soren Garrett's rounding out your top 10.
Yeah, absolutely. Starting in 11th is Trenton Kramer. Andrew Hurds is in P12. Dan Whitsack in 13th. Juan Garcia in 14th. Fabian Singer 15th. Dustin Meaden 16th. Kane Lasky 17th. Jeff Wubker in 18th. Andrew Hogot in 19th. Jeff Jacobson in 20th. Fernando Afonso in 21st. Xander Verbruge in 22nd. Russ Telker rounds out your 23-car grid for today's race.
23 cars, one of the smaller grids that we've seen as of late here in the Formula Ford Weekend Warriors. The track is not part of base content, so that could be part of the reason why that is the case. But it's a fun track. This, once you get into a groove and kind of learn the way around this place, there's some like secrets hidden within this racetrack, and once you unlock those, you're gonna be golden.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, as you saw, we were on board with McConnell earlier, how much off-track or a track addition you can take there, coming out of one where you can just really get wide and get a good entry into the corner. So yeah, there's probably little places like that all over this track. It's nice to see a track with some expanded limits. Sometimes iRacing likes to tighten those things up. Not so much with this track, so. It'll be a good place to find a groove and get a good groove going and find some pace in your car. Hopefully these guys in the back will be able to make some moves, move up forward, and hopefully we don't have any major collisions for the race, and let's get a nice clean one, and everybody will be happy that way.
And as we see this field pace under the formation lap, I want to raise the storylines coming out of that qualifying session. having a Spec 2 driver start down in 12th, that keeps it as a streak of 2 races in a row in which a Spec 2 pole sitter is going to be starting in 12th. Dana Witzak did that at Cadwell. We're going to be seeing Andrew Herds do that here at Magny-Cours. Going to be the first time this season that a non-Masters driver will start from the overall pole since Jörg Mani led the field to green at Cadwell Park 1 week ago. And speaking of Mani, he completes a rather small Masters class in this race. It's himself and Jeff Wubker running in that category here for this race at Magny-Cours. So slightly smaller field in that Masters category. Maybe some of those drivers deciding to put their eggs into the Masters category in the Spec Racer Ford basket. Kind of butchered the delivery of that, but I feel like these drivers are maybe focusing on the SRFs and the Formula Fords in terms of this week.
Yeah. I think there's definitely a group of drivers that prefer one car over the other. A lot of the drivers will just run them all just because it's fun, even though they may not have pace in a particular model. But definitely good to see Jorg out there. And I was just kind of looking at the qualifying times. It's a pretty tight gap between that top 3 within a tenth of a second on the overall qualifying.
A pretty tight qualifying a couple of moments ago for this race. I wonder how exactly that's going to convert into this race that we have coming up. There's a lot left to be determined for these drivers. There's no doubt about that. It's a 40-minute long race. We'll have to worry about those pit stops and worry about that pit exit as well, which may be a little bit tough. You're getting spat out into turn number 3, and even the pit entry may be a little bit tough if there's a driver checking up right in front of you. We mentioned this a couple of moments ago, and we'll raise this as well, that today's broadcast of the Formula Ford Weekend Warriors here on Slow Motion Broadcasting is brought to you by Michael McConnell. Thank you very much, Michael, for your generous support at the very start of the season. Made last week's broadcast at Cadwell Park possible, and he got a pretty good result out of all of it, finished on the overall podium. So let's see if he's going to avoid the jinx that can occasionally come down for some of these drivers when they try and sponsor these races and then look to have a good one. But this is going to be some fun here at Magny-Cours. It's going to be a different race than what we saw in the Formula V's yesterday, and it's going to be a much different race than what we saw, we're going to see with the Spec Racer Fords later on today. But just because it's different doesn't mean it's going to be bad. This is going to be a good one here at Magny-Cours. The field hang their way through that clunky chicane. The pace car turning down to pit lane. The green flag is out, and the drivers are on their way. Jason Green getting off to a pretty good start. He's going to try and lead them comfortably, heading off into turn number 1. Some drivers going side by side right behind him. That's Rasmus Fiori, Felix Samoa's Fiori hitting the dirt coming out of the corner. That's mega sideways. Very lucky from the Finnish driver behind the wheel, the 199 car. The fact he was able to keep that car going in a straight line. Still losing out on some spots to Felix Samoa's and Jörg Mani, who jumps his way up to P3. More gravel getting kicked up as these drivers exit the 3rd turn.
Yeah, absolutely. Good start. Everybody got out clean. No incidents that we saw on the initial takeoff, and so far so good for everybody. Did see a couple of cars swapping positions. Did see a couple of cars really off the track as we see how wide they are coming out of that hairpin. You saw several cars that just maybe took it a little too deep and had to take the escape route there and get the car caught back up. And still, everybody's the only one I see that's dropped is Daniel Tuff's. It's dropped down to 19th from 9th. So obviously did not have a we're hearing that there is a crash, so we'll see if we can get a replay up for that, and otherwise we'll continue on here with the action.
Yeah, keeping on with this action before we bring this first lap to a conclusion. It's Jason Green in front of Felix Samoa's, in front of Rasmus Fiori. Fiori made his Weekend Warriors debut, at least in terms of a paid race, only 1 week ago. Made his first ever Weekend Warriors appearance, period, at the Week 13 runoffs a couple of weeks ago. Seems to have fallen in love with these Weekend Warriors, and always nice to see some new drivers out there on the racetrack, doubly so when they're incredibly quick. Finds himself in 3rd at the present moment. The field hang their way down into turn at number 15. First taste of the chicane, heading off through it at the very end of this first lap. Dustin Meaden maybe dropping down a little bit as Michael McConnell has made the early call to come into the pits. I wonder if this could have been the reason why that's the case. Let's follow McConnell, heading his way down the back straightaway into the Adelaide hairpin to turn 5.
Yep, coming down the straight and getting ready to break for this corner. Starts breaking down. Oh, gets hit from behind. Gets hit from behind and gets sent over the back of the car in front. And yeah, that's probably caused some suspension damage for the car. We're going to get an overhead view here. This is Kevin Adrian. as we're working down to that braking zone again, and you can see McConnell just in front of him, kind of working to the outside of the corner. And oh yeah, so it was the car behind Adrian actually, and that might have been Tufts. I don't know. Trying to see if that was, or it was Tufts. So yeah, so did get that. It was Tufts that made the contact in the back. Just started a chain reaction up, and looks like McConnell got the worst of it.
Yeah, so clearly the sponsored jinx striking McConnell very early on. Even from that angle, it looked like there's a lot of netcode involved in that. As we take a look at a moment involving Sander Verbruge and Jeff Jacobson, that's heading their way through into turn number 12 and 13. Now into the hairpin at turn 14. You can see those two cars getting linked together. That was a little bit of the red mist descending. I'll have to take a look at another angle of that potentially, but I think Sander Verbruge kind of got lost up in all that.
Yeah, kind of what it looks like to me as well. Yeah, oh, yep. Around he goes. And I'm getting a glitch on the replay. Sorry about that.
Oh, good. Don't worry. You can see the contact being made, multiple bits of contact. I think Jacobson and Verbruge came to blows about 4 times in the span of only a couple of moments, as that's a spin coming out of the final corner for your Masters leader of York Monty. That's a big mistake for the driver who's in contention for the overall race win 1 week ago at Catwell Park. He has a massive moment coming out of the final chicane. That's going to give the lead in Masters to Jeff Wubker. Going to send Monty all the way down, now 16 spots down from where he started in this race in 20th. That's going to shake up the battle at the front of the field quite a lot. Going to cause him to drop down like a rock. Jason Green still in the overall race lead. Wubker moving up to the lead in the Masters category. And I have a feeling the curbs heading through that final chicane may have been part of the reason why Monty went off the track.
Yeah, that was my initial thought as well, was just too much curb on the exit of that chicane, and looped the car around over in, like he nosed into the wall. But, you know, he's also had the Sean Doyle was now currently in P4, had the fastest lap of the race. So maybe there was some contact, but we'll have to just, you know, if we get a replay, we'll check it out. Otherwise, we'll assume that it was just a simple mistake by Monty, who doesn't make many mistakes, to be fair. But, you know, it happens from time to time. And here we are on board. So we're coming down into that chicane. That looks okay so far. Oh yeah, right rear end of the grass, and that was what caused it. Sean Doyle again did have the fastest lap of the race, but was not involved in that. So we're starting to see some debris out on the track from a couple of excursions into the gravel trap by some of the drivers. So that's going to make that exit a little more treacherous.
Yeah, the stones already accumulating on the exit of turn number 14, looking more like a rally special stage than ever before. Following Jeff Wubker, who's your current Masters class leader in the 909 machine, has about a half a second gap to himself and York Monty, albeit that has come crashing down just as I've been talking. He's currently running right behind Fernando Alfonso and Jeff Jacobson, heading off through the final chicane. I wonder if Wubker is going to get a move put on him by York Monty. Very close, heading off through 1 and 2 right now. Monty within striking distance for sure in the 925 machine, looking to be on the up and up after that mistake we saw from him not terribly long ago. We'll jump a little bit farther up to the front of the field, though. Find Fabian Singer in the 810 machine involved in a horn assess with himself, Andrew Herds, and Dan Witzak, heading down into turn at number 5. That's some close quarter stuff. Herds on the inside line. Your current Spec 2 leader, albeit as a Spec 1 number. I believe he is classed in Spec 2, though. So Andrew Hertz, currently your Spec 2 leader, running in 8th at the present moment. Never mind, make that running in 9th as Dan Witzak got moved on him, heading off through the chicane, taking the liberties with the inside track limits, which usually you would think that would result in a slowdown, but as was proven yesterday during the Formula Vs and that very hard-pumping finish, which you'll be able to catch on a upcoming YouTube short here on SMB. Stay tuned for that. Surprisingly enough, that move from Witzak not going to give him a slowdown penalty.
Oh, that's interesting. I did not know that. I'll have to watch that short as well. But it is good to see. different lines coming through that set of corners. That was a little hairy there. And yeah, York-Monty has made the move past Wubker. Wubker's also gotten by Afonso as well. I did notice that Afonso in that last little section of corners kind of really got screwed up and kind of offline. It cost him quite a bit of time. And Jorg, just knowing Jorg is just out there having fun, but he does not. He will make passes. He does not have a problem passing people if he's faster. And he's a very clean driver. But he likes running up front. He doesn't feel safe. He just goes all out for the 40 minutes.
Yeah, going for all that glory. Oh, is that a moment for Daniel Tufts heading off through turn number 1 and 2. Be careful on the rejoin here. Garrett's on the outside of him. I don't have a good feeling about that at all, but I think they were able to avoid any sort of major collision. That is a Christmas miracle. Daniel, contact being made again. That time coming out of turn number 3 on this back straightaway. Bump drafting in a NASCAR car tends to work. Bump drafting in a Formula Ford, though, that's not going to go over well.
No, especially when you're using your nose. As we see a move on the inside, especially when you're moving your nose, pushing your nose into the wheel, that will never work, as we saw there. And yeah, I think there was a little bit of contact initially when we first picked up that camera angle, and there's Jorg-Monty in the pits. Is this an undercut? It kind of looks like he's going to try the undercut here. And that may work out in his favor because obviously Jorg qualified up near the front, so he's going to be quick out there in clean air by himself. So we'll see if that's going to play out for him. At 8:45 in, I don't know. That seems like it's a bit early. So we're going to see here. Are we getting a contact made with the car? Monty and Jacobson.
Yeah, you can see Jeff Jacobson right behind him and nearly merging into each other, heading off into turn number 5. And I wonder if Jorg just decided to call it after that. Yeah, he did. That's nothing he could have done there. Jeff Jacobson just wildly overshooting his braking markers off into turn number 5, and Monty gonna get taken out of this race as a result. It's now been 2 retirements from this race thus far have been cars involved in an incident with Jeff Jacobson. So Jeff kind of acting like Medusa in this race here at Magny-Cours.
Yeah, it definitely appears that way. And on the flip side of that is that's going to give the Masters Class Championship to Jeff Wubker, being the only other Masters driver in the race today. So he's going to get the win for the class. He's just got to finish the race and see how many points he can collect, and that's going to be good for his overall points for the championship as well. So he'll be gaining points on essentially everybody in the class for this race. So just got to hang in there and see what else drops to see how far he can move up the field.
I know one thing that I'm a little bit curious about is whether or not Jorg-Monty is going to use this time to get a little bit of experience for that race at this very same track with the Spec Racer Fords coming up later on this afternoon. It's like, you know what? Screw it. Screw the Formula Fords. I'm just going to try and focus on the other Spec Racer Fords. Can't necessarily blame them after a really rough start to this race. But in all the drama, the front drivers are still vacuum sealed together. You got Jason Green and Felix Samoas covered by about 3.5 tenths of a second. Then you have to go a little bit farther back, albeit it's still only 6 tenths of a second, back to Sean Doyle in the number 13 machine running in 3rd. And Rasmus Vori occupying the 4th spot at the present moment. These drivers still very close to each other and giving us a nice little battle that is maybe going to flare up between now and the round of pit stops. Yeah,
absolutely. You're only talking about a second and a half between the top 4. So, yeah, this is still a battle that's going to continue on and hopefully will be raced cleanly, no contact made. Obviously, I don't think there's anybody out there that does anything intentional ever. So we'll just keep an eye on that. But yeah, there's 4 really good drivers up front. We obviously see Green, and Samoas obviously wins quite frequently. Green does a great job and will win as well. So Viore and Doyle being kind of the new guys in this group, we'll see what they can do to hang with these veterans up front.
I have a feeling that Jason Green is going to be a driver that we have to talk about in reference to battling for that Formula Ford championship here this season. Didn't have the greatest showing last time out at Cadwell Park. But let's see how it's going to shake out for him here at Magny-Cours, side by side, heading off into turn number 5. Results in Felix Amos taking the race lead, at least for the time being. Still a lot of shaking up that'll happen between now and the end of this race. Not a question or a shadow of a doubt about that. But as we see these drivers hang off into turn number 12, that camera angle is always rather funky whenever I look at. I'm like, I could just see those drivers turning. I'm like, oh, what we're seeing here? It's like, oh yeah, there's a blind corner of the Imola section out of absolutely nowhere. As much as layout wise, it is rather similar to that 7 and 8 section that precedes it by about 30 seconds. They just feel like two complete. It feels like I'm trying to think of the best way that I could describe it. The same formula, but just executed in a completely different fashion.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, it's this is a pretty we mentioned the word unique at the beginning of the broadcast, and I think this is exactly right. It's you've got sections named after other tracks, but I don't really see I don't see the comparison with their namesake as we're on board here with Russ Telker. He's working his way down into this hairpin here, just too deep, too hard on the brakes, loses the rear of the car, and is in the back of the field, so got a little bit of room back there, so he's got plenty of time to get back on the track, but obviously struggling a little bit with the track here tonight.
Yeah, these drivers have to get a grips with this racetrack that really does not get a lot of use on the iRacing platform. In my year and some change now covering the Weekend Warriors, both in the Formula Fords, the Spec Racer Fords, and the past couple of seasons of the Formula Vs as well, we have not run at Magny-Cours, and it's a little bit, even in my time just doing iRacing broadcasts, this is only my 3rd time doing a broadcast of a race here at Magny-Cours. The first one was like a 4.5-hour long sports car race on a different broadcaster. And then yesterday with the Formula Vs, today now for the Formula Fords, and coming up later on with the Spec Racer Fords. The track just does not get a lot of use. There's a very real possibility that we'll do these broadcasts and then probably never hear about Magny-Cours again for a couple more seasons.
This is the French equivalent of New Hampshire road course.
Exactly.
Where it's just never used for anything except when we come here every 3rd season or something like that. So yeah, I mean, once again, I think it goes back to what we talked about last week with Cadwell. Is you mentioned the fact that F1 was here a few seasons ago, but for the most part, there's not really any big. As we see somebody come into the pits, that's Dan Witzak. We don't just have any big race, leagues that come here and run in real life. So I think that helps with the popularity in iRacing. I think when you're out there and you're seeing IMSA or WEC or somebody out there running on a track, it makes you want to go out and just see what your lap times compared to the cars that are out there. And Magny-Cours does not fit that description. Unfortunately, I think it's a pretty good track, but I can see why. Obviously, series like F1 won't run here. There's not enough gravel. Obviously, there's too many corners that are just grass and then barrier, and that's not going to be what F1 is going to want to run on. So and it may be that the gravel is only because the F1 came here, one season, I guess, during COVID. So yeah, it's I think that lends to the popularity of the track in iRacing is how much do you get to see this track live on the weekend, so yeah, who knows, it's because like I said, I think it's a pretty good track. It's not it's unique, but I don't know that there's anything that's just super challenging about it, and that might have something to do with it as well.
This may be a rather controversial opinion talking about this place, but I like this track far more than I do Lebanon on, and despite the fact that Paul Ricard is not on iRacing, I have enough experience driving around that track on the F1 games to know that track's So
Yeah.
I'm a fan of Magny-Cours,
Yeah.
honestly. It's got some nice character to it, and this track is rather historic as well. I have to pull up the greatest source for trivia information, at least for me as an iRacing broadcaster, that being racingcircuits.info, to try and get some more information about how long this current layout's been in existence, and how long this track's been open. It's been around the block before. One of the most iconic moments in F1 was, I believe, Rene Arnoux and Gilles Villeneuve battling here back in the day, and it's just a wonderfully historic track, and just really fun to drive around as well. It's irritating until you get into that groove, and then when you finally get a grips to this racetrack, it'll start to be a little bit better. As Russ Telker, I think, has not
Still
found the
struggling with that
groove, but
corner.
has found the gravel
Yeah.
trap again.
Yeah, he's still struggling with that corner. It's the second time we've seen him just brake way too late and take it off into the gravel. I think he's actually taking it to the pits now, so that may be Russ done for the day, and he'll be migrating over to the spec racers, and obviously a little bit different car, so maybe he'll have a little better luck with the SRFs. And ooh, is that Kane Lasky up there just sideways trying to hang on to the rear of that car? And we talk about this is these cars are basically mechanical grip only. It's got a little bit aero downforce, just not a lot. So you're depending on these tires to do a lot of the work to get around these corners, to get the car moving faster and slower, as well as getting the car turned. So obviously Lasky on that, at least in that little section, was pushing it just a little too far.
As we jump back to the live action at the front of the field, now a minute and a half away from the halfway mark of this race, as Jason Green in front of Sean Doyle is up 4 spots from where he started in this race. Felix Samoa's remaining where he started in third, with Rasmus Fiori running at this front 4 pack. Got Andrew Herds and Kevin Adrian coming down pit lane. Herds still your leader in Spec 2. Kevin Adrian got involved in that incident a little bit earlier on, heading off into turn number 5. Those drivers deciding that now is the time to come into the pits, and considering we are both very much so in that pit window and rapidly approaching upon the halfway mark of this race, I think these pit stops are going to be a bit more common. But here may be the reason why Felix Samoa's dropped down a little bit. Jason Green blowing his doors off, and really Sean Doyle getting it done as well. I wonder if he potentially picked up a slowdown, perhaps heading through turn 14.
Yeah, it didn't look like he was offline coming through that section, and was a little bit slower than the cars that he was battling with. Which I think Jason was probably content to run in P2. We know he's very good on fuel mileage in both these cars and Spec Racer, so I'm sure he was happy to just sit behind Felix and run laps until it was time to get to the end, to the fuel stop, so he can make us stop a little bit shorter. But he's inherited the lead thanks to Samoa's little bit of a slow section of track. And Doyle took the advantage and came up there with him. So, be looking for Doyle. If Doyle gets opportunity, he may try and make that move, and I don't think Jason will fight it very hard.
And let's see how this is going to shake out. Jason run a little bit wide heading through turn 15. He had a pretty rough go of things in the Formula V race yesterday. Finished on the lead lap. I mean, granted, he was upside down at one point and had to tow back to pit lane. So you kind of get the yin with the yang in a situation like that, I guess. But that would be a fantastic turnaround in the span of 24 hours. Go from having a flipping incredible performance for the Formula V race. That was a terrible pun. I apologize for that, Jason, when you're watching this, putting together the highlights reel for the Racing Line podcast. But going from that race with the Formula Vs, where he spent at one point of an upside down in the grass coming out of turn 17, to winning it here in the Formula Fords. Still got a long way left to go in this race. A lot can happen even though we're past the halfway mark. And prove that right now as Sean Doyle just got moved on him for the race lead. Potentially. Here we go, side by side, coming out of turn number 5 through into 6. Doyle going to get that move done before they turn into 7.
Yep, absolutely. I don't think Jason, like I said, I don't think Jason has a problem with that. He's just very comfortable riding behind and doing some fuel saving, doing some lifting and coasting. So he's okay with letting Doyle get out and lead some laps. And you see the pack here. It's just, we're talking about 0.8 of a second between all 4 cars. So this looks like it's going to be one of those that, unless something happens during the pit stops, it's going to be a very, very close finish between at least 2 or 3 of these cars.
Yeah, it's going to be some close battling all the way to the end of this race. And here's another one that we got going on right now. It involves Michael McConnell, who's put on a rousing recovery drive to make his way up into 11th. Dustin Meehan running about 0.7 of a second back in 12th. Andrew Hogat running in 13th. And Jeff Wubker kind of completing this train of cars. Wubker still your leader in Masters after Urgamani decided to punch out early as Rasmus Rory getting a move done. I just realized that was a little bit of a rhyming thing going on there. Rasmus Rory making that call to come into the pits in the 199 machine, pits from the top 4, and I wonder if this is going to create a bit of a trend of these drivers at the front of the field deciding that now is the time to come down pit lane.
Yeah, it may be the start of it, and but I think from what I've seen with these drivers now, obviously Doyle is fairly new, so I don't really have his patterns down, but I can almost guarantee you that Samoa's and Jason will be coming in after the 30-minute mark. I think they run till they can't run anymore. They want to make that final pit stop, that single pit stop, as short as possible. So they're going to wait until they're absolutely out of fuel before they come down. And I think that's just kind of the way they do things. So it would surprise me if they came in earlier than that, especially with them kind of running nose to tail at this point. So yeah, it's a challenge, or it's a chance that Viore took, but it's his race and it's his strategy, and so if he thinks that's this midway point is the perfect time to go in and get fuel, then absolutely go for it. Maybe he took a little less at the start just to make sure that the car was a little bit lighter at the beginning, so he could run it down to empty and then fill it up. That's going to make his pit stop a little bit longer, as we see the battle here. With Juan Garcia, Kane Lasky, Daniel Tufts still running 7th, 8th, and 9th, still nose to tail.
Still a nice little pack that we're following right now coming out of turn number 14. But here we go. Sean Doyle from the race lead decided to come into the pits. The driver of the number 13 car, the Aussie, deciding that now is the time to make that run. We're over the halfway mark now with about 16 minutes left on the clock. It's going to allow these two of Jason Green and Felix Samoes. How many times have we seen a sparring match between these two? I mean, they were battling for the Spec Racer 4 championship last season. They're now battling for a race win here in the Formula 4. They're at least battling for the lead as it stands currently. I wonder how it's going to shake out for Doyle. He comes out of the pits well behind Rasmus Rory, so that's going to be rather interesting. Was that just an excruciatingly long stop from Sean Doyle, or was there a little bit of strategy trickery that played into the hand of Rasmus Rory?
No, I think it was a long stop. I'm looking at the Rory with a 12.8 stoppage time, and Doyle with a 20.2. So I think he took a little more fuel than he probably needed. I don't think it was long enough that he actually took a tire or something like that. So yeah, he just probably just a miscalculation on his fuel number. Either that, or he had a lot less in the tank when they first started the race, so he had to take enough to get to the end. But hey, I'm going to shout out to Trenton Kramer running in third. He's only 5 seconds off this front two, and he's up 8 spots, so he's having himself quite a day today.
That he certainly is. Currently being tailed by Ethan Orr in the number 33 machine. That may be a battle that we have to talk about in terms of breaking our way into fourth. We may have just nearly jinxed him, though. Trent Kramer getting mega sideways off into the dirt coming out of turn 14. The amount of stones and gravel and crap that's on the exit of turn 14 really would boggle the mind. These drivers staying out for yet another lap. Felix Samoes and Jason Green. I gotta say, it's a mix in terms of their strategy call. They're obviously veterans in this series. I mean, Jason Green, we've seen a lot of him, and Felix Samoes seen a lot of him, as that's heading off into the wall for Jeff Wubker in the 909 car. Definitely broke off that left front tire in the process of that. He's towed, but he has rejoined the race. I was just going to say we may have a race where our Masters winner doesn't even finish, but no, he's still in the race, albeit down in last and 20th.
I was going to say that almost looked like, I think it was brake lockup, but it almost looked like a hardware failure. He just drove straight. He never even turned from the corner. It just went straight into the wall. That was kind of strange. So maybe there was a little hardware glitch there. I've heard of some some that want to kind of reset themselves at midpoint of your race, and hopefully that wasn't the case. But yeah, that was a little odd. But yeah, definitely saw the brakes lock up, and he just basically slid into the wall.
And that right there is why they're usually called Formula 1600s on iRacing. Usually think it's because of the Ford engines that are usually in the back of these race cars. And Jev Webker, unfortunately, instead of getting a Ford engine, he got himself a steering rack from a Ford Pinto. Clearly, that did not do him any favors coming out of turn number 3. That, I think, in the 2 years and some change in which I've been doing iRacing broadcasts, and coming up to 2 years I've been doing these Weekend Warriors shows, that I think maybe the first time I've ever mentioned the existence of the Ford Pinto. So we're breaking new boundaries here at Magny-Cours.
I mean, my grandparents owned a Ford Pinto, and I did drive that thing. So I just I can't really say much about it. It was a good little car, to be fair. It was very underpowered. It was only a 2-liter engine, but it got my grandmother and my grandfather around where they needed to get to. So I guess that's the whole goal, right?
It worked as an automobile at the end of the day. Jason Green pulled his automobile. Yeah, well, I mean, hey, if it works, it works. They got Chrysler beat out in that regard. But Jason Green finds himself in P8 as a result of his latest run to come into the pits. He's going to exit out in front of the likes of Rasmus Fiori and well ahead of Sean Doyle. So, going to work out well for Green, not work out too terribly well for Fiori. I was going to raise this point in reference to those front 4 drivers and their respective calls into the pits. Fiori and Sean Doyle, not drivers that we've seen a lot of here in the past with the Weekend Warriors, Felix Moes and Jason Green. I mean, we've seen a hell of a lot of them even in the so far this year in 2025. As that's a moment from Dan Witzak, a quick little spin heading off through turn 14. Turn 14, a little bit surprising. I wasn't expecting it to catch out as many drivers as it has, but it has caught out many drivers.
It really has. I'm kind of shocked at that myself, but it just seems like that people are struggling trying to get the break points down for that corner. Obviously, Samoa had no issues as we're getting Kevin Adrian coming out of the pits here. Is he going to come out into some traffic? Let's see. Oh, just carried too much speed. Takes it to the grass. That's probably going to be a penalty for an unsafe pit exit. Yeah, so that may be him coming back down for a second stop, or taking the penalty at the end. I think we've got enough time left that he's going to have to come in and serve that black flag as we're seeing Samoa's now. Oh, and here comes his pit entry. Ooh, that looks like it was fast. Is he going to be stuck there?
I think he actually got away with it rather scot-free, just seeing that we have now seen the at one point race leader Felix Moes make that call to pit. Let's see how it's going to shake out with the likes of Jason Green. He's on pit exit. How's it going to shake out? Samoa's out and away. We're going to see that gap diminish there. You can just barely see Samoa's in that exit road. How's this going to work out? Jason Green within striking distance. It's going to be just about nothing between those two cars on pit exit. Stuck on the outside line, though. Samoa's going to have to cut off Jason Green to make sure he holds on to the net lead of this race. Sharon Kramer and Daniel Tufts running P1 and P2 have yet to come down pit lane, but Samoa's timing that to absolute perfection. If he was a little bit slower on that, he would have dropped back into the crutches of Jason Green and maybe even into Rasmus Fiori.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, no penalty. So he managed to get the car slowed down enough by the time they got to the cone that he didn't have to serve that pit speeding. And we've got 3 cars now, and the gap is about a second between the 3 of them. So this is going to be our lead battle here at the end of the race. So we'll have to see what strategy plays out. It's going to be interesting. There's 3 really good drivers up here in the front of this field.
3 very talented racers battling for the win at the end of this race. Incredible credit due to Trent Kramer, still out there on the racetrack in the number 20 machine. He will have to come into the pits at some point. That's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. He will have to come into the pits. Will it be this time? Let's wait and see. Yes, it is this time. So Kramer coming into the pits. I gotta say, a little bit surprised that we haven't seen a driver get called out by the pit entry here at Magny-Cours.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's a very, very quick entry, and you got to get the car stopped quickly. As we see Tufts come in, and he managed to get the car stopped as well. So those are our last 2 cars in for pits. And so those guys are going to have themselves a pretty good battle, I think. But they're going to end up with potential top fives. We've got Sean Doyle that was of the group of 4 that we had racing earlier. Had the little pit mistake, took a little too much fuel, a little too much time. So it's kind of kicked him out of the back. So now he's going to have a battle on his hands between Kramer and Orr for that P4 position.
The battle is still going to be intense all throughout this field as we take a look at a moment involving Soren Garrett spinning through turn 14. I wonder if it's a little bit of the gravel that's been strewn on the racetrack, because turn 14 hasn't even resembled a hairpin corner on a racetrack. It's more so resembled a slip and slide ever since the drop of the green.
Yeah, it really has, and I think that I don't know that was gravel. I think that was just him taking the outside line and maybe carrying a little more speed than he needed for the angle of steering he was going to have to apply to get the car around the corner. So just basically a bad line on entry. We see here with Trenton Kramer, who is now behind Doyle. Doyle in 4th position, and Ethan Orr just kind of trailing back there about a second and a half back. So that might be our nice 3-car battle there for just off the podium, as you see them in the background of our 3-car battle for the overall race win.
This is going to be a heads-up fight between 3 very different racers with 3 very different goals in mind. Rasmus Fiore looking to grab his first ever win in the Weekend Warriors. Jason Green, certainly not going to be his first win. If he grabs it, it would be his first win of the season, though. Felix Samoas wouldn't even be his first win of this season if he can just hang on for the final few laps of this race. Gotta say, it's been a little bit of a trend for Felix Samoas thus far. You think of Cadwell Park 1 week ago, the Formula Vs and the Formula Fords were running at the exact same racetrack. Had a pretty rough go of things in the Formula Vs. Then in the Formula Fords, he was able to get it done. The Formula Vs yesterday, he was involved in a battle for the win, but had a spin coming out of turn 14 right towards the end that gave the victory to a different driver. And I gotta wonder if we're going to be seeing a bit of deja vu here for Felix Samoas. Will he be able to get a win after a bad Formula V race at the very same track? Who knows? We still got 6 and some change left to go in this race, and a couple laps left on the clock as well. So this is going to be some fun. Samoa still leading them heading through turn 5. It's practically nothing between himself and Jason Green. Rasmus Fiore still within striking distance. There's going to be a battle involving Sean Doyle and Trent Kramer for the final spots in the top 5. Here's Dan Witzak, your current leader in the Spec 2 category. Things have not gone well for Andrew Hurds. He was at one point the Spec 2 leader and was also the Spec 2 pole sitter. Things not coming up well for him. Witzak and the 413 machine got to look to try and grab another win. But at the front of the field, it's going to be a heads-up fight between 3 very different racers and 3 very different looking race cars, but all of them are super quick.
Yeah, absolutely. They're all super quick up here. So I do want to give a couple of shout-outs to some guys as I'm looking down the order here. Kane Lasky, our hard charger. I do remember Kane when he was when he first started running and I first started broadcasting the Weekend Warriors. He was running the S2 class and was pretty dominant. He's moved up to S1, but he's up 10 positions in the race, currently running 7th, having a really good run. And shout out to our sponsor for the day, Michael McConnell, who had to come in early on lap 1 for damage repair. Has worked his way back up into P10 overall. So nice recovery drive. He has already taken his stop for fuel. So he's got about 4 seconds, and so he can claw his way up. He's going to keep working forward, and we'll see if he makes up any other positions before this is all done.
And I wonder if he has to come into the pits yet again. But either way, very good recovery drive from McConnell's. We see a mode for Daniel Tufts yet again in turn 14. It's been Calamity Corner ever since the drop of the green flag, and Tufts, who we saw involved in that drama, heading all through turn number 5. The other bit of drama involving McConnell. Proving that right then and there, a side-by-side racing between Felix Samoas and Jason Green. We're now seeing Jason Green start to dip his toes into the pool. He's starting to get a bit experimental with those moves off into turn number 5. Testing the waters, was not successful that time, and he needs to get this move done with authority. If he loses out on a bit of time, he's going to fall back down to 3rd with Rasmus Fiore, the newcomer in the 199 car. He's got the rookie stripes, and he also won some champagne and confetti on that race car too.
Absolutely, yeah. This is going to be a tough battle, and I'm just curious about 14. Let's stay with the leaders until we get down to that corner and see what they're doing, because that corner doesn't look just terrible. It looks like it's got some camber that'll help you get around the corner. So for people to be struggling there is a little strange to me.
Whoa, as you can
Ooh.
see, Felix Samoa is dipping some wheels off into the dirt coming out of turn number 14. That's not going to help his cause out at all. Jason Green now trying to get a move done. He's going to be stuck on the outside line into the braking zone, turn number 14. This did not go well for Jason yesterday. He's hoping to have a single file run through the chicane, which he does. Loses out on that challenge to Samoas, who got away with one there for sure. Samoa's going to look to try to avoid any major mistakes like that. And just look at the lap times from those racers. If Samoas didn't have that moment, probably would have been a little bit quicker, but they're tracking just about the same lap times, and Sean Doyle and Trent Kramer right behind them in 4th and 5th, actually tracking about 3 to 4 tenths of a second quicker than those racers. Holy cow.
Yeah, and that's just from the side-by-side battling these guys are doing up at the front of the field. So they, it's we talked about this before. You invite challenges from the back when you go side by side into these corners. We're going to do it again. Green on the outside does not make the move. He just kind of stays out there and just takes that wide line through the corner. Gets himself quite a run out of that. So he's looking down to the inside. And nothing as of yet. I think he's just kind of probing to see where he can, where he's going to be able to maybe get Felix offline just a bit to find a run to finally make this pass. But so far, Felix holding his ground and still managing to stay in front.
Yeah, maintaining that race lead, and he only has to withstand a couple more challenges between now and the checkered flag with less than 2 minutes left on the clock. I believe they're going to be taking the white flag this time by, and for Felix Samoas, it's going to be a really tough challenge for him. Kevin Adrian making that call to come into the pits along with Andrew Hoggart. Not sure if there was any sort of drama involving those two racers. Certainly Hoggart, one of the latest additions to come into the pits, side by side between Green and Samoas, down into turn 15. Not going to be successful yet again from Jason Green. Clips of gravel on the outside, but the white flag in the air.
Ooh,
and Samoas is going to find it side by side with Green, who has a monster run, but here comes Rasmus Vori on that inside line, 3 wide, heading off into turn number 1. Samoa is understandably backing out of it and running wide, though, on corner exits. That's not going to help out his cause at all, but Jason Green and Rasmus Vori still side by side. Vori on the outside, Green on the inside, side by side on the exit, coming out of turn number 3 onto this back flat out blast for the final time. Samoa, despite picking up some gravel on his tires and denting his ego somewhat, he's still going to have a monster run down this back straightaway. He's going to be in the middle with these racers. This is going to be a heads-up fight into the braking zone for turn number 5 for the final time. Jason Green on the inside. Viore getting pushed out and hung out to dry on the outside line. Samoas, he's got a good run on Jason Green. They're going to be side by side in this flat-out blast down into Nürburgring for the final time. Will it be a successful challenge from Felix Samoas? It's going to be a move. He gets it done. He licked the stamp and sent it on Green, taking the race lead with only about a half a lap left to go down into the hairpin at turn number 9 for the final time. Samoas in front of Green, in front of Viore. This is going to be a brawl between these two. They got a few more corners left to go. The challenge spot at turn number 14. They got this flat out blast. Look at the run that Jason Green has coming out of turn number 10 down into Imola, turn number 12. Holding on to that inside line is going to be Samoas. He gets that move done to remain in the race lead. But credit where credit's due to Jason Green. I thought he was going to make a workaround the outside into that fast chicane. Just not close enough, but Samoas, he runs wide. Some more gravel getting kicked up onto this racetrack. He's not going to have a good run. Green's going to have a good run. Vori's going to have a good run as well. If these two drivers come to blows, he's going to be in the catbird seat. He may try and make a 3 wide down into turn 15. Not close enough. Green on the outside line. He's not going to give out. He's going to go for it. Look at that. The curb wax from all of those racers. That's going to allow Felix Samoas to get the second win of the season.
Wow, what a battle on the last lap. Those 3 guys gave it everything. You could see they just were looking for just a clean line to get the lead, and it was switched and swapped over and over again. People trying different things, and in the end, it was Felix Samoas taking the win. Oh, what a battle. What a battle. Great racing. So we see Dan Witzak taking the Spec 2 class victory, finishing P10 overall, as we see Daniel Tufts crossing the finish line. We'll be waiting on our Masters class driver Jeff Wupker to finish. Looks like he's going to finish 18th on the day, and we'll take our Masters class victory. As Herd's coming around here, it's going to get P2 in Spec 2. And then Jacobson will finish third in Spec 2. Just ahead of Fernando Afonso and Andrew Hoggett. Sorry, get his name right. But yeah, great battle up front. Great battle by that second group of three. Sean Doyle gets gets P4 over Trenton Kramer by a tenth and a half. Ethan Orr just behind in sixth, 1.8 back. Kane Lasky, 10 positions gained over the course of the day. Hard Charger, P7. And our sponsor will go ahead and shot him out again with a great recovery drive after the lap one pit stop to finish P9 overall. Michael McConnell, great drive as well. So, yeah, great racing from the top of the field to the bottom, and saw some great battling up front. Just fantastic racing.
Holy cow, I am still trying to catch my breath after that heart-pumping finish at the end of this race. My apologies there, Charles. I was talking into the microphone, then realized it was muted. So that was on me, but well done to Daniel Tufts. Dan Witzak grabbing his second Spec 2 win of the season. Felix Samoas, his second Spec 1 win, and he had to fight like hell to get it done. Let's take a look at this replay. Rasmus Fiori, I thought he was going to go for the dive of a lifetime, heading off into turn number 15, maybe decided to take it a bit easy, and you can see those bunny hops heading off through that final chicane. Man, I was fully expecting Jason Green to end up upside down for the second time in as many days, but they managed to get through it rather scot-free. Those the bunny hop strategy clearly being the exciting one for sure, all through 16 and 17, but is it the fast one? I don't believe so. We're going to take a look from the SMB helicopter and take a look at this drama at the end of the race. Credit where credit's due to all of these drivers, not only giving us a heart-pumping finish to end the second race of this Formula Ford Weekend Warrior season, but giving us a clean battle right to the line as well. Any lesser drivers, that could have ended an absolute disaster about 5 separate occasions, but they fought like hell and they got the moves done, and Felix Samoa is going to hold on to the win. Hold on to the lead and grab the win when it's all said and done. We'll look to have a chat with him in a couple of moments, and I'm mildly petrified as to what sort of shenanigans we may be seeing out there on the racetrack. There's not really a jump opportunity around here. I think my replay is currently crapped out of me. Charles, am I missing out on some stuff?
Oh no, it was just a replay of the end of the race where I just saw Viori. He found a jump. It was that right side curb in the chicane. Just launched the car in the air, and he did a good job just keeping it underneath him. It was, the entire last lap. I mean, they started the white flag lap 3 wide, and they just continued to battle for the entire lap. And it was just great racing, and it was clean. No contact that I saw anywhere during the course of the lap. And so, yeah, it was just great racing. And like I said, the second group of 3 seemed like just as good as the first group. So yeah, it was, fantastic racing all the way around.
Now, I gotta say something, and this is honest. Looking through the results, it did not work out very well for Rasmus Fiori and Jason Green at all. They picked up a slowdown, hang off through that final chicane, so they dropped well down the running order. You can see these results at the end of this race. Felix Samoas is going to win it in the number 31 machine. It was a smaller gap out there on the road, but it's Sean Doyle classed in P2 at the end of it all. Trent Kramer rounding out your overall podium in third. We have Ethan Orr in the 33 car finishing in fourth. Kane Lasky finishes right behind in fifth. Juan Garcia is going to cross the start-finish line in P6 at the end of it all. Michael McConnell on a rousing recovery drive in the number 62 car finishes 7th at the end of the day. Dan Witzak will finish in P8. Your winner in the Spec 2 category, Daniel Tufts, finishing in 9th. Rasmus Fiori, as a result of that slowdown, heading off through the final chicane, finished well farther up, finished on the overall podium on the road, but because of penalties, he's going to be classed all the way down in 10th.
Yeah, finishing in 11th. Fabian Singer had a great run. Soren Garrett's in 12th. Jason Green all the way down to 13th. That just shows you that slowdown plus penalty. It cost him an extra 11 slots down. That's horrible. Andrew Hurd's finishing in 14th, second in Spec 2. Jeff Jacobs in third in Spec 3 and 15th overall. Fernando Afonso in 16th. Andrew Hoggett in 17th. 18th position is our, who we got here as we scroll up. I think that's Meaden that's running in 18th. Yep, it is indeed Justin Meaden, 18th. Jeff Webker finishing in 19th. Our Masters winner, Kevin Adrian in 20th. Russ Telker in 21st. Jorg Monty in 22nd. And Xander Verbruge rounds out the 23-car finishing order. So Webker obviously gets the Masters class victory, but not a lot of points gained on his rivals because of the issues he had on the track. But still, points gained is points gained, and I'm sure he'll take that and get ready for the next race.
And Jeff Webker did pretty all right last season here in the Weekend Warriors, is doing pretty all right at the start of this season. But got some drivers waiting up there in the interview waiting area. I'll have a quick little chat with Felix Samoes so we can get a little bit of time to practice for that Spec Racer Ford race. Felix, welcome into the commentary booth. And holy cow, man, that was a heart-pumping finish from our perspective of the commentary booth. Can't even imagine how it was for you behind the wheel. How was it out there?
Yeah, it was, guys. It was really fun. I tried to leave as much room as I could for Jason, and I think, we succeeded not bumping into each other. It was really fun. I had to defend hard after the pit stop because I was just commenting with Jason. You would think that with such a long straight, it would be easier to pass with the draft, but it isn't. I mean, unless you get a very good run, you can get half a car ahead, but if the other guy is on the inside for the hairpin, so it's not that difficult to defend in the end. Funnily enough, it's worse going into the S's or chicanes, those high-speed chicanes, than it is defending for the hairpin. But in the end, it was turned out good for me. It's a real shame for Jason had that slowdown and the last chicane. Something happened to Rasmus also, I don't know, because he also got some penalty. Yeah, in the end it worked out for me. It was really fun, good race.
Yeah, grabbing your second win of this season, a practically flawless start for you, winning at Cadwell Park, winning here at Magny-Cours. I raised earlier on that there's maybe something about you running into some difficulties in the Formula V races on Saturdays and then crossing the start-finish line to win it here in the Formula Ford. So maybe within your best interest to throw some of those Formula V races to try and do well in these FFs. It's been a rather good start for you here in the Formula Fords, though.
Yes, yeah, I didn't race these cars too often before joining the series, but I'm getting along. I like to drive it. So far I think I've been lucky because I'm pretty sure that I will run out of luck sometime in the near future and not win races like this.
So your second win of the season, I'm sure you're very happy about your chances heading off into the next round of this Formula Ford Championship at Brands Hatch. I know you said that you were maybe going to just try and show up to as many of these Formula Ford races as you can, but after a perfect start, you may potentially see you out on track there a little bit more with this series. So Brands Hatch in 1 week's time, what are your thoughts heading into that one?
I like Brands Hatch also. I'm not very good at it. I like the track, but normally I don't do very well. So let's see how it goes. I'm definitely have an extra motivation now to to make the effort to join these races. Let's see how it goes. That's all I can say at the moment.
And we're also going to seeing you out there on track for the Spec Racer Ford race later on at this very same racetrack. So what are your thoughts into that SRF race here?
Oh, let's see. We have so many really fast drivers. So the three of us that were in the fight for the lead, plus you have now Kane also joined the Weekend Warriors. I don't know if he'll be present or not. He's wicked fast. I raced with him at the Radicals. I would just see him go. Also, Soul is really, really fast, and maybe Mauricio. So maybe I'm forgetting someone, but I think it will be harder than it was here with the Formula Fords.
And I'm really looking forward to that Spec Racer Ford race. I feel like it's going to be a mix between what we saw with the FS and what we saw with the Formula Vs yesterday, and I am super looking forward to it. But Felix, thank you for joining us here in the commentary booth. And before we let you go and get some practice for that Spec Racer Ford race, is there anybody you want to give a thanks to or shout out?
As usual, to everybody taking part in the races, makes this a fun community to be in and to race with these guys. So, and the organization, and as always, you guys in the commentary. So, I mean, the whole thing, it's really fun to take part, to watch the races, the broadcast afterwards, or when I cannot take part. So, yeah, that's it.
Alrighty, well, Felix, congratulations on your second Formula Ford win of this season. Excited to see you on track for the Spec Race Fords later on. Thank you for joining us.
Yep.
And that right there was Felix Samoa's. I've kind of talked about this a little bit. Felix and I think one of my first ever broadcasts was a race that he won. It was with the other Radical SR10s here on iRacing, and would be nice to see him out there on track with those. But Charles, got that Spec Racer Ford race coming up later on this afternoon. Holy cow, that's going to be a race unlike any other.
Yeah, it's usually the Formula Ford has a really good grid. I mean, 23 is probably more than you would see on your usual official race. But then the SRF always seems to be a big grid, 40 plus cars a lot of the time. And so that's just going to make this race. And Felix is right. We've got some really fast drivers here, and we've got some that double up. And so you're just going to have that many more fast guys up there battling for the win today. So, yeah, looking forward to it. We'll take us a little break here and recharge and refresh, and then we'll settle back in for another nice 40-minute battle with the SRFs.
And that Spec Racer Ford race is going to be intense. And while we do have that little break between the shows, happy to take a look at the Shorts tab here on Slow Motion Broadcasting's YouTube channel. Got a brand new one out documenting some of the action from the XSLR series that you can catch on Sunday nights here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. A lot of stuff here on SMB. We're on the final push to break 1,000 subscribers. Thank you to all of you who have subscribed thus far. And only 20 more left to go. We may be able to do that come time for the very beginning of April. So stay tuned here to SMB so you never miss out on any of the racing action. We've got the Spec Racer Fords coming up later on at this very track. The next round of the Formula Fords are going to take us to Brands Hatch, and we hope we can see you all there. But as for this broadcast, for round number 2 of this Formula Ford Weekend Warriors season, I think that will just about do it. And so for myself, Ron Maunz, Charles Boshell joining me in the commentary booth, and Guido Marzucchi doing a wonderful job working on the cameras in the virtual production hauler, I say thank you all so very much for watching this broadcast here on Slow Motion Broadcasting today, and stay tuned for the Spec Racer Fords coming up later on this afternoon.